Righty, cool. We might just kick off. Thank you everyone for waiting. Welcome to Clenergy Australia's webinar, Tech Talks. We'll start with welcome to country. In the spirit of reconciliation, Clenergy acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to the land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. We'll go through a quick little snapshot of who Clenergy is, because there's a fair amount of you on the call who this is probably your first run-in with our brand and what we do and all the products that we have on offer. And we'll then jump into the tech talks, where I'll hand over to Ivan. Most of what you see here on the agenda, you probably would have seen on the emails or on our socials. So I won't go too much into them, but basically you've got the roof dome definitions through to concealed roofs and the different type of roof types and the mounting methods, and a few sneak peeks on some new products that's about to be released soon. At the end, we'll do at the end, everyone who needs the CPD points for their CSD accreditation, if you can email us, just letting us know that you want to do the test, we'll send you a link to get that organized, and I'll share that with you later. Cool. So Clenergy, as a brand, one of the key messages that we have is always to spread the idea of sustainable and a sustainable future. And how we do that is building systems that last. Our main mission for the next 5 years, our 2025 mission, is to collaborate with more partners, collaborate with more industries across various parts of the world globe, and develop and expand the business. And our core values has always been is constant innovation, provide great quality, and be service oriented. Some of you might recognize this is the Clenergy team. We were at All Energy last year at the stand. We're a committed bunch to the Australian market. This is where our offices are globally. We are quite concentrated within the Asia Pacific region and Australia, and we do have an office there in Germany. We also have distributors in the UK and in Hungary. Yep, next slide, please. Cool. In terms of certifications, we've just been certified by Dun & Bradstreet with a 5A credential. And that's the highest category of approval from Dun & Bradstreet. 5A, meaning that we are a business that's net worth over 50 million, and with the #1 rating of credit appraisal, which basically means we can secure high credit and we're very low risk enterprises. The rest of the certificates that you see there are pretty standard in terms of our OHS and in terms of customer regulatory requirements. So if you can go back one slide there, Ivan, thank you. We've got our ISO 9001, ISO 14001 as well for environmental and system certificate. All these certificates are available on our website, which is clenergy.com.au, under the certificate section. So everything's available for download if you need it. Next slide, please. Thank you. I'll just quickly go through a list of our product line that we have in terms of our, so we've got basically 12 lines, 36 in terms of mounting systems and accessories, totally about 200 plus subcategories. We carry everything from rooftop, from penetrative to non-penetrative to adjustable tilts. And as you can see, right from residential up to utility scale projects. In terms of specific clamps, there's heaps of them in terms of different types of roof profiles, which Ivan will go into in more detail, but just a few images just to give you a snapshot. We have large tripod systems there, as you can see, and also our Clenergy Hollywood series, which is our all black rail and fittings, and some of our ground mount systems with the SolarTerrace II, and I think the next image is of the SolarTerrace III. Beautiful. And we also have obviously our post mounts. Ivan, if you can go back one. Thank you. So, and that's post mounts, which can take 2 to about 8 panels. Yeah. And one of our newest products, the Easy Shade, which is a complete ground structure product, right from the side railings to the top roofing structure as well. Comes from single to even a double carport. In terms of applications, Ivan, if you can click through, yep. I mean, literally, you can put them anywhere. There can be a shade, a pergola, a bus state stand. Doesn't really have to be a carport. It can be anything really. In terms of our projects, we've done quite some of the most iconic sites across the country. Again, large-scale commercial, utility, Clenergy has done most of it. And in terms of our basic advantages, exceptional quality control and a global leadership team certified by Dun& Bradstreet, nationwide distribution, been in the Australian market since 2007. And locally, obviously, we provide a professional service and technical support, and actually including also engineering services. Beautiful. I'll introduce our trainer for today, and that's Ivan. He's been with Clenergy for the last 5.5 years, has a degree in electrical engineering from RMIT. And through the years, he started off as a PV engineer, but he's acquired a lot of skills over the last 5 in logistics and management and product development. Today, he is one of the leading account managers and supports the company's growth in the C&I sector. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ivan.
Awesome. All right, welcome everyone. Today's training session, we'll be covering some very interesting topics around mounting systems and some technical know-hows. So whether you're new to solar or been around for years, I hope you might learn something new from today's session. So let's begin. Roof zones for flush mount system. So what are roof zones? Roof zones are sections of the roof where wind pressure is higher or lower compared to other areas. What are exclusion zones? Exclusion zones are areas of the roof where exposed to the highest wind pressures and installation of panels are not permitted. So these are generally around the edges of the roof plane. So how do we determine this? Roof zones come down to either the building dimensions or the type of install you're using. So in both conditions, we reference the AS 1170 wind standards with building measurements. So condition 1, we have height divided by length is equal or less than 0.5. Height divided by width is equal or less than 0.5. This might be difficult to remember, or it might be a bit too mathsy for most, but a quick way to remember this is that if your length or the width of your building is more than double of your height, then this condition applies. And the roof pitch is between 1 and 30 degrees. So when this condition applies, you have a 200 mil exclusion zone. This 200 mil is derived from your panel clearance. So say you have 100 mil panel clearance, your S is 100 and your exclusion zone is 2S. So it's 200 mil. So with Clenergy L feet, you normally work with about 85 to 100 mil. So we normally recommend a 200 mil spacing for this condition. So now we look at what if my installation falls outside the building dimensions, or what about tilt systems? So now it falls under condition 2. Condition 2 covers tilt system or when height divided by length is more than 0.5 or height divided by width is more than 0.5. So again, this is now a quick way to remember is that if your width or your length of the building is less than double. So say if you have a 10-meter building, it's less than 20 meters. So now instead of having an exclusion zone, you have 4 different types of zones, and panels are permitted to be installed in any of these zones. So with this 4-zone system, in order to calculate your now we don't have an S, we have an A. So we choose the lowest value between your height, your width times 0.2, and your length times 0.2. The lowest value from this step equals your A. So let's run a quick example. So these are my roof dimensions. We have a 10-meter height, we have a 50-meter width, and a 50-meter length. So it's a flush system. So straight away you can tell because your width is not double your height. This should be your first giveaway. So now instead of going with condition 1, we are going with condition 2, where we choose the lowest value between H width times 0.2 and your length times 0.2. So in this scenario, we have our height, which is 10, our width times 0.2 is 3 meters, and our length times 0.2 is 10 meters. So the lowest value between these three scenarios is 3 meters. So now that's our A. So using this A equals to 3, we have our corner zone, which is 0 to 3 meters, our edge zone, which is 0 to 1.5, and our intermediate, which is from 1.5 to 3, and our central zone, which is 3 meter inwards. So in summary, 2 conditions for flush depending on building dimensions. Condition 1 is a 200 mil non-negotiable exclusion zone, no panels in this zone. And condition 2, which is also covers for tilt, we have 4 zones: corner, edge, intermediate, central, and panels can be anywhere in these zones. All right, now we're going to talk about Clenergy screws. So Clenergy, we supply a wood screw, which is a 14 gauge, 10 TPI, 65 mil Clenergy 3. And this is used in our tile brackets, or IO1, IO2s, and 4, and so forth. We also supply a universal screw, which is a 14 gauge as well, 11 TPI, and 70 mil. This is also a Clenergy 3. So a quick way to differentiate the two of these screws is to look at the head. So a wood screw will generally have a pointy end, and a metal screw or universal screw will have a flatter head. And our universal screw is used with our IO5s and our tilt legs. All right, so some general notes regarding screws. So you should never reuse the screw on existing penetration. The new screw you install on the existing penetration must always be a size up or a gauge higher than the screw you've pulled out. And you should match the screw corrosivity to the environment. If you're unsure, you should check. So now let's look at screws and corrosion categories. So like I said, both our screws are C3. So what does that mean? Our tin screws are permitted to be only installed in C1, C2, and C3 corrosion categories. C4 and C5, it's not warranted, it's not permitted. So you should source C4, C5 screws in this area. Our tile brackets, however, so our wood screws that are supplied with our tile interfaces, can be used in C4 and C5, even though it's a C3 rated screw. And this is because Clenergy considers the screw installed with tile interfaces to be in a category 3 microclimate, where it's not exposed to the full C4, C5 corrosion. All right, now let's dig deeper into corrosion categories. How do you figure out what category you're in? So an option is to contact Clenergy tech team, so we can easily help you guys with this. And another option is to refer to the standard 4312, which is atmospheric corrosivity zones in Australia. So I've taken a snapshot out of the standard. So this is looking at Melbourne or Victoria. You can tell that even though Melbourne is, Victoria has the sea front or ocean front, it's still considered to be a C3. And this is because it's considered a bay. So C3, even though you have coastal front, it still can be classified as a bay if it's from 100 to 360 millimeters in for less sheltered bay or gulfs. For C4 generally you're looking at seashores where you have rough seas and surf. So this is something to be a note of. So now let's look at Sydney. So Sydney, we have a C4, C5 exposed area here. And this is because it has rough seas, surf, and harbor foreshores. So the distance for the C4 and C5 zone is 200 meters in to a kilometer in. So that covers Cronulla. However, Parramatta and Campbelltown are considered as C3, and after that is all C2. So now let's talk about dissimilar metals. What are dissimilar metals? So two metals with different core properties being in direct contact with each other, increasing the risk of galvanic corrosion. So here we have a picture of a brass screw and a mild steel nut, and you can tell that the steel nut has corroded significantly. So how do you identify a dissimilar metal and what's similar? So we refer to a series of metal tables which shows the highest on the top, which is your noble metals, along with your active metals at the bottom. Metals close to each other on the table means they are similar. Metals far apart on the table is considered dissimilar. So for example, we've got gold right at the top there, which is considered a noble metal. And we've got, say, stainless steel. So gold and stainless steel is very common in jewelry. You've seen it all the time. Gold-plated stainless steel or stainless steel necklaces with gold pendants. So these two materials are considered compatible because they're similar, they're close to each other on the table. We also have aluminum, which is used in most of our interfaces in our products. And we have zinc, magnesium alloys, and other type of very common roofing cover materials. So what about the components we use and the clamps on Klip-lok roofs? So in regards of component compatibility, Clenergy uses aluminum grade AL6005 and stainless steel SUS304. These materials are considered to be compatible with low risk of galvanic corrosion. Klip-lok roofs and other type of concealed roofs are made of steel, but they generally have a coating, and this could be aluminum zinc magnesium alloys, or other type of alloys. And you can tell from the table that they're very close to each other. This table here is taken out from our Lysap Klip-lok 406 install guide. And you can tell on the left side is the cladding material. So they have zinc aluminum, which is a zinc alloy. Zinc coated steel, we have colorborn, ultra metallic. These are the type of materials that they use on their roofing sheets. And you can see here that aluminum alloys are all compatible as a fastener or to be in direct contact. This is because they are considered similar metals and have a very low risk of galvanic corrosion. So in summary, galvanic corrosion is accelerated when you have two distinctive dissimilar metals on opposite sides of the spectrum, a noble and an active metal. Aluminum clamps and fasteners are considered compatible to be in direct contact with concealed roofs such as Klip-lok 406 because of its similar aluminum, zinc, magnesium alloy coating. You can also find fastener clamp material compatibility on the roofing manufacturer's install guide, or if you're unsure, you can always contact tech@clenergy.com.au if you're unsure. So now let's talk a bit more about concealed roofs. So what are concealed roofs? Concealed roofs is an exterior roofing sheet that comprises of covers locked into each other without any visible screws. They're an easy way to install roof, eliminates the rust or leaks due to exposed screws, and are very common with commercial buildings and new housing developments. What are the common types we see? You got the Lysap Klip-lok 700, Speed Deck Ultra, King Klip 700, 406, Top Deck 700. The list goes on and on. There's plenty. But how do we identify a roofing type? So a common practice, and we get this all the time from installers and customers, is that they'll give us the cover length, the rib height, the profile, and what profile is this. However, the only correct way to know and the right practice is to locate a label or the as-built or construction drawings. Why is this important? The most important structural element in the concealed roof is ironically a concealed part. This part is called the fixing clips, and it's unseen to the eye from the top. This clip holds the roof sheet down with its own unique roof design. Different roof sheets use different clips with different strength capacities. So on the left here, we have the Klip-lok 406 fixing clip. It's a single screw clip. On the right here, we have a Top Deck 700 fixing clip, which can be installed with one screw or two screws. So different clips, different strength, holding down different type of sheets. In all our tests and our experience, we have found that this connection point between the roofing sheet and the fixing clip to be the weakest point. So what I'm saying is that if you can see this little line of gray here, so that's your roofing sheet, and it's connected to the fixing clip. Now, the only thing that's holding it, these two things together is this groove design. Oops. So you can imagine that it's not exactly the strongest connection point. So here I'm going to show you some images of some of the testing we've done. So in pretty much all our testing, where the clamps that clamp onto the ribs have never failed. It's the sheets that have detached from the roofing clips. So here you can tell the clamps are still attached, but we've already got displacement on the roofing sheets. The roofing sheet has dislodged in the lap joint. And this is considered a failing point. This is another failing point here where the roofing sheet has detached from the fixing clips. And in all these scenarios, the clamp has still attached to the roofing clip, to the roofing sheet. So that's why the exact roofing make and model is very important, because this is the only way we can determine how strong this actual roofing sheet is. So in terms of Clenergy clamps, we've done very, very thorough testing with all our clamps and roofing sheets. We we do it with a local independent MTS lab, which is now certified. For example, our RA9 here is certified for over 8 different roofing sheets. We have our I-32 clamp, which is certified for the 406 roofing sheet, and our Longline 305 I-29 for the 305 roofing sheet. And we also have a new clamp called the Universal I-34, which is certified on all those sheets, plus a few more. So at the moment, we're seeing around 15 different roofing sheets we have done testing for this clamp. So what happens when my roof is not listed as the approved roofing sheets, or my install falls outside the standard certification? So we have 3 possible solutions that Clenergy engineering team can offer. One is penetrative fixing, where we screw through the sheet into a structural member. This is not normally the most acceptable form of installation, because a lot of homeowners, the reason why they've got a concealed roof is because they don't want any screw fixing, they don't want any screws. An alternate option is to do on-site testing, where we have a clamp on the side, we test it up, and we pull it up to a certain kilonewton number before there's any displacement, and we certify the system based on that value. And lastly, we can over-engineer. So we use worst-case scenarios that we know of that's applicable to the state or to the country. So now let's talk about standard engineering versus project-specific engineering. So standard engineering certificates, which we have for all our products, they're designed for residential and small-scale commercial. It has a set design of conditions. The roof structural check is not included. It has conservative spacing with safety factors, as you can imagine, for a generic cert, and it might not be suitable for financing or high-profile projects. Then we've got our project-specific engineering. It's mainly suited for commercial systems when we look at the building importance level and design specifically for that. It's for any conditions, any design parameters. It includes the roof assessment. So we look at the roof structural adequacy. We look whether you can actually hold the weight. It's optimized spacings where we look at roof zones, where we have optimized spacing for different roof zones. And it's also normally required for financing, insurance, and for your high profile projects. So how do you get a project-specific engineering cert? So send an email to engineering@clenergy.com.au, and our team can coordinate this for you. So it includes a preliminary analysis, custom solution certifications, state regulatory forms such as the Queensland Form 15, mounting system drawings, and a lot more. So now let's talk about earthing and bonding. Why should we earth our solar array? According to AS 5033 standard, there are 3 reasons for earthing the exposed conductive parts of a PV array. This is for protective earthing to provide a path for fault currents to flow, lightning protection, and equal potential bonding to avoid uneven potentials across an installation. How do we achieve this with Clenergy components? We have our grounding clip, the GCSD, and this is installed under the mid clamps. And one very important note about this is that the piercing pins of the GCSD has to pierce through the panel frame and the rail. So this picture here where we have the panels are not flush to the mid clamp, the GCSD is not piercing through the panel frame, and this is not a right way of installing it. We also have our grounding lug, which is installed at the end of your arrays, or end of the rail, sorry. So do we have to add earthing clips under every mid clamp? Short answer is no. So when you have an even number of modules in a row, the number of grounding clips required is the number of modules. So in this case here, we have grounding clips here, 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 and here for 4-panel system. We can skip the middle 2 here. And this is because by having clips here, all 4 panels and all the frames still have a path to ground. Even if we remove, say, this panel here, we still have a path to ground. One thing to note, though, if you're removing a panel for a long period of time, you should replace the ends here with an end clamp to ensure the panel is secured and there's a constant path to ground. So when we're looking at odd panels in a row, the number of grounding clips required is number of modules plus 1. So you can also skip. In summary, earthing components are to provide an electrical path or continuity to ground. Earthing clips and lug, when fixed properly, will pierce through the anodization of the rail and the panel frame, bonding the 2 metal elements. You do not have to add an earthing clip under every mid clamp. However, when you do remove a panel for a long period of time, an end clamp should be fastened to maintain a safe earthing and to secure the panel. Now let's talk about thermal expansion and rail lengths. So what's thermal expansion? Thermal expansion is the expansion and contraction of metal or matter in response to a change in temperature. So this can impact different materials, different metals in different ways. Every material has its own thermal coefficient number, and it reacts to the change in temperature. And this is from, like, think of it as a high to a low. So in terms of Clenergy rails, what's the max length of rails we can have? So Clenergy recommends a max rail length of 20 to 30 meters spliced together. This will also assist in the ease of install with aligning interfaces and the serviceability of the array. A fun fact, however, is that you can have Clenergy rails up to 100 meters. And this is because our splicers take into consideration the expansion from the rails. As long as your rails are not more than 5 meters per length, the splicers can absorb this expansion. But Clenergy recommends 20 to 30 meters regardless. If you ever need to have long arrays in your install, we recommend to contact Clenergy Tech, and we can help you out with this. So basically, in areas such as, say, Queensland, where you have less range of high temperatures and low temperatures, you can have much longer arrays compared to areas in say, Victoria, where we could have a really hot summer day into a crazy cool change at night. And that's what happens with thermal expansion, is the change of temperature in the day. So let's talk about common metal roofs and mounting methods. So with metal roofs, the common roofs we see are trim deck profiles, trapezoidal. In these cases, we have our standard L foot, which also comes to black. For corrugated metal roofs, we have our I-25, which has a curve-based foot. We also have a curved puck, which you can attach to the I-05 for the other direction. Now we look at common tile roofs. So we have slate tiles, terracotta tiles, Spanish tiles, and in terms of solutions, we have a wide range of Clenergy brackets with different heights, different arm lengths to suit this type of installs. But the question is, what happens when your brackets are not aligning well with the tiles, or what if you can't reach the rafter? So the number one option is to use packets. So in no circumstances, the tile bracket should be touching the tiles, and you shouldn't have the base of the bracket to be not sitting flush. So if it's appearing like this, you need to add packets. And the only requirement from the Clenergy side is that you need 25 mil of screw thread embedment into the timber. So you can have as much packets as you want, but you need to have at least 25 mil into the timber. Another option is to use roof extenders. So this gives you about 100 to 150 mil extension, but this is on the tile side. All right, so now it brings me to my first product sneak peek that's coming out in Q4. It is the adjustable tile interface. So on the left here, we have our standard IO1, which is pretty fixed, pretty rigid, doesn't give you much freedom in your installation. And this is the new part that's coming out soon. It's an adjustable tile interface, which is going to give you a lot more freedom and flexibility for your tile installs. So the adjustments we have is 35-50 mil on this front leg here. And we have our standard about 20-35 mil on the Alfie tolerance here. And this point here is able to pivot 360 degrees. So you can get pretty creative with your installs by having this point here. And it also gives you this adjustment by, if you can imagine this turning 180 degrees, your rails are sitting on the opposite side, you get about 50 mil adjustment on this side. There's going to be two products that's coming out in this range as well. One's going to have a 120 mil arm, and another one's going to be a 170 mil arm. To put that into perspective, the standard IO1 is about 80 mils here. So it's going to be a lot easier, and it's going to be really useful for those tricky tile roofs that you might face. Coming soon. All right, so now let's look at other roof solutions, in particular concrete roofs. So what are our options? So the main solution we normally suggest is the solar ballast, which is a ballast type system. The whole solar array is held down. There's no penetrations to the concrete roof. It's being held down by ballast blocks. So this can be blocks, concrete bricks, or other type of dense materials. There is a limitation on this product, or the feasibility really is wind region A, and the height has to be around 12 meters and under. And the reason behind this is that anything above that height or that wind loads, the ballast or the weight required per panel becomes unfeasible. It becomes the amount where we can't actually place it on the roof or place it in the trace. So yes, you can keep stacking these bricks, but it gets to a point where the bricks will start giving shadow over the panels. So we found that to be around wind region A, height less than 12 meters. So option 2 is cam set with your standard solar roof flush or tilt. This is probably the go-to, or what I would normally would like to suggest, recommend, is because it has no limitations. There's a lot of ways around this. You can have bigger bolts, you can have deeper embedment, you can have multiple interfaces, multiple penetrations. We've done installations up to 120 meters high in cyclonic winds. There's no limitations. However, if you're uncomfortable with fixing into concrete, it's recommended to consult with a roof plumber to maintain the waterproofing integrity of the roof. The last solution we have is concrete sleepers. So basically, these are big independent blocks of concrete that we can then dynabolt or can set our existing array frame to it, whether it's flush or tilt. This system as well has a limitation because after a certain height or wind load, the specs for these blocks becomes really unfeasible to a point where it's hard to source it or it's hard to transport it. So we find the sweet spot for this solution to be around wind region B, height less than 20 meters. So in summary, with concrete roofs, probably the best way is to contact Clenergy Engineering. Here we can tell you your options, which you can then take it back to your client, or you can do a bit more of a feasibility study. With Clenergy Engineering, we provide preliminary assessments, feasibility statement, and a solution certification. All right, now it brings me to my last slide. And also it's a product sneak peek, and it's around cable management. So cable management is one of the factors really that sets apart quality installers from being on crap solar. Bad cable management and the use of non-compliant tools such as cable ties, plastic cable ties, is a hazard. And with that, Clenergy will be releasing a side channel rail for cable management. And it's really going to help improve installations for cable management, providing a neat and fast cable management system. So some quick information around this new product. It's only compatible with the cutter rail. It comes in 380mm lengths. It's a snap lock function, and it provides a safe and better form of cable management. And it's coming soon. With that, thank you guys. That's all from my end. I'm going to pass it back to Samir.
Okay, so thank you, Ivan, for that. That was pretty in depth. Now, if anyone felt that they wanted to go over any particular slide, we do have a fair bit of time. So if you wanted to put that into the chat window, let's see here. Jose, if I can get you to go through the chat and then let Ivan know which questions they've come through so far, because there've been one from the beginning, I think from Karen.
Yes, yeah. Karen was asking about why do we need to have lugs on the rails when using universal clamps?
So technically, one lug on the rail is. Are you asking whether we need to use two or one lug?
Yeah, two.
Yeah, so technically one lug will be fine, but Clenergy recommends two is more of a safety precaution in case one of the lugs fail or the connection point is not good. We have a backup lug, and because everything falls onto that one lug, the whole earthing system falls into that last lug. It's really important. The whole rail system, the continuity falls to that lug, is really essential to have a backup. So
that's part to do with standards.
Yes, yeah.
I'm getting a lot of questions about the cutter rail and the ER rail. Can you explain the difference and also why we can only use the cable covers with the cutter rail?
Okay, so the main difference between the cutter rail and the standard eco rail, the eco rail is anodized and the cutter rail is mill finish aluminium. So the anodization on the eco rail prevents earthing continuity. That's the reason why we need grounding clips to pierce through the anodization into the existing metal. So with the cable management system with the cover is mill finish aluminium, and it's compatible with the cutter rail because that's mill finish as well. If we were to use the eco rail, we need to have a new earthing system to ensure that the cover is also grounded. We might look at that sometime in the future, but in terms of simplicity, the cover can only be used with the cutter rail because of the same material, and there's no anodization.
And the length of the rail is different.
Yes. Also, the cutter rail comes in 4.4 meters. Standard rail comes in 4.2.
Australian made.
Australian made, yeah.
The other question is why 380 mil for the cable covers?
I think it was just we had sort of a stakeholder meeting and discussion around it, and we found that 380 was the right length, so you can between interfaces, because you don't really need to have covers all the way through. You just need probably sections of it just to hold the cables in, and it also makes it easier to snap it instead of transporting long lengths of covers. We could look in the future for longer covers if that's required, but at the moment we're going with 380.
Martin, he asked about metal tile roofs because they're common in New Zealand. I don't think we have anything for that, do we, at the moment?
No, we don't. So I think metal tile roofs, the solution is hanger bolts. Metal hanger bolts is, I think, the go-to solution for that.
And then sealing it up afterwards.
Yeah, the Sikaflex or any other type of sealant around it.
Mm-hmm. Longer tiles, sorry, Joanne, longer tiles on market, a cutter black. Not sure what that means.
Longer tile legs. That could be, I think that could be the tile interfaces having longer. So with the new adjustable tile bracket, it'll come in 120 and 170, and that's significantly longer than the current IO1, which is only around 80 mil. We did recently release a couple of months ago an I51, which was 110 mil, but this adjustable tile bracket is going to be even longer than that. And I think he also asked ETA on Carter Black. That's it. That's happening in the background. It's also a coming soon product.
Any photos of the universal Klip-lok on roofs?
I think we had one at the start.
It was just one by itself on the actual roof profile. Do we have multiple ones, image of that? Not yet. So looking for installers out there to share and tag us with on their next install where they've got the universal tags. I believe the guys over at TLE Hudson Park were going to share one with us soon. So you'll see one soon online.
Yep. We've got plenty of photos. So maybe send us an email, and then we're happy to share some photos. Anything else, Jose?
Yes, we've got a couple other ones. Is it suitable to use an earth washer below an end clamp? I believe it's not at this stage. Yeah,
so we actually this was a question that was actually posed to us. We were all pretty sure that it works fine, so we just double checked. We did some testing. Yes, so the earth washer and the end clamp works absolutely fine. Will this change the holding strength of the end clamp? So no. So we actually did some testing very recently to ensure there's no reduction in the end clamp strength, and the answer is no. So there's no reduction. Strength is the same.
Yeah. Rick, does a rail cutter use the same meter nets? Yes, it does. It's the same as the Eco.
So everything is the same with the cutter rail and with the Corrosion. The only difference is that it's mill finish aluminium compared to anodized. So all our interfaces, our mid ends, L feet, tile brackets, they all look the same. The profile's identical. So it both has the Z module channel. So it's compatible with all our products.
Sorry, there's a lot of questions coming through. I think this is an interesting one. Less plastic being used on our product.
Yes, yes. So this has definitely been something we've been looking at. I don't know, Samir, if you want to add anything about this. We've got some stuff like biodegradable bags in the mix.
Yeah, so I mean, we're looking at biodegradable bags. Some of the supplies that come back to us, some of them are completely clear. Some of them aren't. They have like semi-see-through. Whether that's whether that's an issue for installers, where the bag itself is you can't see through it, but it's 100% biodegradable. We are asking that question at the next stakeholder meeting. And then for us, from a manufacturing perspective, there are obviously we have got automated machines that help us to pack, and so for the machines that we have are for the non-degradable ones. So it means we're going to have to change that line on packing. So anyway, this is all internal conversations that we are currently having, and we're between the team, as you, Ivan and Jose would have seen. We're just constantly back and forth on what the best way forward is. We are discussing it, and we're hopefully going to come up with a solution soon.
Awesome.
All right, cool. I've got one here from Tim Weber. Hello, Ivan. Do we have foot spacing for both options of roof classification? This is a very good question. At the moment, we don't. So at the moment, our tin and flush only covers upwind, downwind, and central, which is condition 1. But we are going to look into having a separate tables that covers, what if you're in condition 2 and you have the 4-zone system. So we're going to have flush systems that have corner, edge, intermediate, and central spacing as well.
Joanne, about rail cover cost, and Craig with the adjustable tire bracket deflection. They're probably best to email us at either engineering at Clenergy or tech at Clenergy, and we can talk about that further. Earthing clips. Why is the zigzag method not recommended anymore?
So the problem with the zigzag, and we actually spoke to some panel manufacturers about this. Some of them don't like the zigzag because of the height. So I think the GC is about 2 mil or so, and the uneven height, they just didn't like it. They don't like. They feel that it might create micro cracks or whatnot.
Micro cracks, yeah.
So at the moment we're just saying a no to zigzag. Although some panel manufacturers came back to us and say zigzag's completely fine.
Okay, so we're just being more cautious.
We're being more cautious, saying no zigzags.
Commercial tilts available in black?
Coming soon, I hear. It's probably not in Q4, but it's a 2021 release. Something in the works. Everything's going to come in black, guys, pretty much.
That's screws for larger pull-out capacity. That's a good point. Are we looking at doing larger screws for larger pull-out capacities instead of having the 3 rails?
So at the moment, no. So what we did recently was we went from a 35. I think previously years ago we had a 35 mil minimum embedment. We've gone to a 25, just to make it easier installers with packing and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. That might change with the fact that now we have the adjustable towel foot that you can start adjusting. That maybe we can go with deeper screw penetration and have larger spacings. And that could also impact on the tin roofs. Although with tin roofs, a lot of them you're going into metal purlins where you can't really the embedment doesn't really matter in those areas. But that is a good question, Robert, because a lot of the times it's the screw fixing that is the limiting factor of the system.
Yeah. Anodized Klip-lok. That's a good one.
It's in black anodized.
Our Klip-lok doesn't come anodized, does it?
I think it's partly anodized, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, we'll get back to you on that one, Ryan.
I'm pretty sure it's anodized. Yep.
East-west next to each other, tin flat roofs at 15 degrees. I think we're working on that at the moment. Correct?
So the Clenergy have a railing for mounting east-west next to each other on flat tin roofs. Yes, commercial tilt. So Felix, maybe send us an email and I'll send you some information on the commercial tilt system. At the moment, it is a fixed 10 degrees and you can have that east-west. And soon we might look at other tilts for that system as well, 5 and 15 degrees. I think that's what you're asking, 15% or 15 degrees. If you're after 15 degrees now for east-west, the only solution really we have is having 2 tilt legs on opposite directions.
Different depth for screwing into steel battens rather than timber.
Yeah, okay, so that's a good question, John. So in our engineering certs, which is in the notes section, we have different, what if you're installing a different type of timber? So as a standard, we use F7 pine timber as for our calculations. But say if you're screwing in a different type of timber, or if you're installing in steel battens, the spacings change. So depending on whether you are up or down, there's an increase factor and a reduction factor. So that's something that's in the engineering certs. It could be something that we add to Easy Code as well, but it might be a lot of information. So there's an option to select what type of structural member you're fastening into.
This is a good one. If the weakest point of Klip-lok bracket is where the roof sheet attached to the clips, how does adding extra feet make a difference when not over the purlin?
So when I say it's the weakest point, it's the point of failure. So it's when the sheet detaches from what's holding the sheet down. By adding more fixing points or adding more Klip-lok clamps, you're spreading the load across multiple fixing clips. Whereas if you have one clamp and then you have it spaced, say, a meter apart, all that pressure is on that one clamp and that one fixing clip. So that the rate of failure is a lot quicker than if you have multiple clamps and the load is spread over all the ribs. So it's just about spreading the load.
I think you had a picture of the difference where one of the images it was showing where the roofing sheet was coming up at the joining point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, even if you fixed it in the middle where it's not over a fixing clip, the failing point is where the clips are. So if you had multiple fixings, the load pretty much spreads, and it's pretty much the rate of failure is being reduced. Or the kilonewton loading that it can be loaded upon gets increased.
That's pretty much it at the moment, I think.
Yeah, I think that's it. I might have some.
I just wanted to say very quickly, for all the people out there who need their CPD points, which is for 35, I'm in the chat window sharing a link, which is to your little online test. If you fill that form up with your details and your CEC accreditation number, it's only 8 questions. It shouldn't take you more than, I guess, 2-3 minutes to fill that in. Send that through, and then we can forward the list over to the CEC and get your points accredited to yourself. Cool. Thank you.
So got one here from Mark. Like rooftop concrete ballast blocks, do you have off-the-shelf ballast blocks for SD3? No, we don't. We do spec the dimensions for the blocks, but we don't supply them. So for just to add on that, so the SD3 we have I think 3 or 4 different type of concrete foundation options. You know, it could be an individual pad on each leg. It could be a transverse pad where your front leg and back leg is together. It could be a full slab. On the Clenergy side, we spec them. We tell you, the dimensions for the pads, the reinforcement, the grade, but we don't supply it. Johan, your question on the rail cover, not yet. The product will be released, I think, in a few weeks. Then you'll be able to get all the documents and pricing on that. All right, got one from William here. Can I use a standard 10-degree tilt leg on the ground? If not, and why not? You can. There's really on Clenergy side and engineering side, there's no reason why you can't. As long as you have enough panel clearance for whatever area you're in. You know, if you're prone to wildlife or whatnot, you need to raise it up a certain height, especially if you have cabling as well. We have done tripods on ground where we have tripods sitting on small concrete blocks, or even tripods sitting on other type of anchor systems on the ground. So it is you can do it. There's no reason why you can't.
Cool.
I think that's it.
Jose, have any other questions that you got privately?
No, that's it. Only that one that you can probably see, the standard 10-degree tilt on the ground.
Cool. Alrighty, it looks like we have all the questions are answered. If there's no more slides that anyone wants to go over again, Ivan, if you can just go to the last slide for us.
Yep, sure.
So if you still need to get in touch with us later on, the email addresses are in the chat. I've chucked in Ivan's, which is ivanross.gomez@clenergy.com.au. If you want our tech team, which is the same as well, tech@clenergy.com.au. We encourage all of you here, if you are posting anything online with your installations, here are the links to all of our social channels, and all the social channels, something that we monitor daily. So if you put your questions up there, we'll answer them straight away. If you are looking for a platform for peer-to-peer learning, we do have the Clenergy Club Facebook group, which is open for all installers to join in and share their experiences with the product as well. But if that's all good, thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you, Ivan, for your time as well for today. We've got 6 minutes early, but probably better off for all of us to log off and enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend, guys. Stay safe.
Awesome. Have a good weekend all. See ya.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.